A survey was taken a few years ago that asked 300 professionals one question. What's the worst thing that can happen in sports? Some people answered losing a Game 7. And other people said getting swept in 4. Some people said it was missing the World Cup. And some Brazilians said it was losing to Argentina. Not just in the World Cup, anytime, ever, in any contest. But one person answered that the worst thing that can happen in sports was 4th place at the Olympics. This is a true story, but except for my own, I've changed all the names, and I've done my best to obscure identities for reasons that'll become clear. I'm Molly Bloom, and right now I'm ranked 3rd in North America in women's moguls. I grew up in Loveland, Colorado, about 2 hours north of Denver. I have a BA in political science from the University of Colorado, where I graduated summa cum laude with a 3.9 GPA. The median LSAT score at Harvard Law School is 169. My score is 173.
Number 87 up, 56 on deck.
I've spent 16 years chasing winter and being coached by the best in the world. Sundays were for working out with my father. Something's really wrong. When I was 12 years old, for no particular reason, my back exploded.
Tough it out.
Good advice.
And lose attitude.
Less than 10 minutes later, I was in the back of an ambulance. I had what's called rapid onset scoliosis. My spine was curved at 63 degrees, and I'd need a 7-hour surgical procedure that involved straightening my spine, extracting bone from my hip, fusing 11 vertebrae together, and fastening steel rods to the fused segments.
She's gonna be fine. I wouldn't let her ski anymore. Definitely not moguls, and obviously skiing competitively is out of the question.
I was on skis again in a year, running moguls in 18 months, and by my 20th birthday, I made the US ski team. It's the last round of qualifying for the Salt Lake City Olympics. This is the champion run at Deer Valley. The altitude's 8,100 feet, and the pitch is 52 degrees, which is the same as the sides of the Great Pyramids. The wind's 20 to 25 miles an hour, blowing left to right. It's 3 below zero at the top of the slope. And with 17 skiers in front of me, it's gonna be like trying to stick a landing on a frozen infinity pool.
Kiki blew out of her line. Shannon was off balance on her second landing.
He's talking about Kiki Bandy and Shannon Keebler, my 2 toughest competitors who had significant point deductions on their final runs. I can make the Olympic team right now.
Go get it.
And if I have 3 perfect runs in Salt Lake, the best runs of my life, I can beat the Austrians and the Swiss and have a realistic shot at the podium. Then law school, and then a startup, a foundation that seeds entrepreneurial women. My father's at the bottom of the slope, telepathically telling me to check my line.
Check your line.
I check my line. Good snow contact, calm upper body, legs together, good shape, no line deviation. Set up for the D-spin and stick the landing. Now 2 things you need to know before the second trick, which will be a 720. The first is that when visibility is bad the way it is now, race officials toss pine boughs on the course so the skiers have some foreground depth reference. The second is that the tightness of your bindings is determined by what's called a DIN setting. If you're a beginner, your DIN setting is probably a 2 or 3. If you're an experienced weekend skier, it's probably 7 or 8. Mine's 15. My boots are basically welded to my skis, right? So how does this happen? It happened because I hit a pine bough that had become frozen in the snow. And I hit it so precisely that it simply snapped the release of my bindings. Right in that moment, I didn't have time to calculate the odds of that happening because I was about to land pretty hard on my digitally remastered spinal cord, which was being held together by spare parts from an erector set. None of this has anything to do with poker. I'm only mentioning it because I wanted to say to whoever answered that the worst thing that could happen in sports was 4th place at the Olympics, seriously, fuck you.
Bloom.
Yes?
This is Special Agent Tomasino of the FBI. We have a warrant for your arrest.
Sorry?
We're outside your door. We want you to come out here, okay? Listen to me now. Make sure we can...
Who is this?
This is Special Agent Tomasino of the FBI, Miss Bloom. You got 30 seconds to open your door, or we're breaking it down. Do you understand what I just said?
Hands in the air. Put your hands in the air.
There's been a mistake.
Are you Molly Bloom?
Yes, but
I
there's...
want you to walk towards me very slowly, okay? Go ahead. Slower. Slower. Slow down. Come on. Come on.
I'm having a
Walk
hard
slower.
time seeing the flashlights
Walk
in my eye.
slower.
Yes, sir. Hands on the wall. Spread your arms and legs.
Is there anyone in your apartment right now?
No, sir.
Are there any firearms in your apartment right now?
No, sir.
Go. You're under arrest for running an illegal gambling operation. Do you understand?
Yes.
Say you understand.
I understand. There's been a mistake because I haven't run a game in 2 years.
I want you to take a look at this piece of paper right here. Can you see what it says at the top?
Yes.
Read to me what it says at the top.
United States of America versus Molly Bloom. I bet heavy on the favorite.
What do you think about the following concepts? Just gonna run them by you. Marriage,
It is a trap.
society,
It is a joke.
people.
I think there's good and bad. But I don't trust them. I don't trust people.
Every year on our birthdays, my father would interview my younger brothers and me.
Who are the heroes or heroines in your life? Who do you really respect?
I don't have any heroes.
You don't have any heroes.
How's this for hubris?
I don't. Because if I reach the goals I set out for myself, then the person I become, that'll be my hero.
Even by teenage girl standards, I would appear to be irrationally angry at nothing in particular. It would be another 22 years before I'd find out why. After my colossal wipeout at Deer Valley, I decided to take a year off before law school. I needed to go away, sever myself from reality, and come up with a new plan. So I chose Los Angeles. A friend of mine from the ski team had agreed to let me crash on a couch for a while. My father had disapproved of postponing law school and so declined to help out. But I had $1,700 I'd saved from babysitting money, and that would support me until I found a waitressing job. I'd already had a career and retired from it. I wanted to be young for a while in warm weather. I think that's what I wanted at first. It's hard to remember. I got a job working bottle service at a club in Hollywood called Nacional Nightclub. It was Cuban themed, so my uniform was camouflage short shorts and a wife beater. The promoter would go over which record producer was sitting where, which hot designers, which Lakers, and Borislava, the Bulgarian billionaire, who didn't drink, but who ran a $100,000 bar tab. My job was to get people to spend more money than they needed to.
We get a bottle of Sky.
You guys look like you deserve Grey Goose.
Well, what do guys who deserve Grey Goose look like?
To begin with, they got a bottle of Grey Goose in front of them.
You're quick. Very clever. Alright, yeah. Grey Goose.
They just spent an additional $300, bringing their total to $900 for $8.50 worth of vodka. But the club doesn't need you to buy a bottle. They need you to buy 5 bottles. So these girls over here, they let you buy them shots for a living. It would be like waiting in a long line to get into the Gap so you can pay a 1,000% markup to buy all the employees a pair of pants. I only had 1 shift a week. I didn't want to tell my parents I was a cocktail waitress, and back then I never turned down an opportunity to make more money. So I found a second job as an office assistant, and that's how I ended up working for Dean Keith. Dean was a partner in Black Hughes Investments. He was a regular at the club, and one night he said,
"People seem to take to you. Hey, how'd you like to get paid to go to grad school and get an MBA in how life works?"
"What makes you think you know and I don't?"
"I'm a regular here and you're a waitress here. Look at the fucking scoreboard."
Dean explained what my job was by saying,
Me. I'm your job.
I answered the phone, made coffee runs, set appointments, made spreadsheets,
What is that?
and showed Dean what a spreadsheet was. but I made $450 a week on top of the $300 I was making at the club, which would be enough to get off my friend's couch. I remember the day started by being about bagels. This is Molly.
To the office. Pick up bagels.
Do you mean now? Dean was a Hollywood staple. Over-leveraged, going broke, trying to prove he wasn't broke, and making a true effort to be as vulgar as possible. Honestly, making an effort. I hadn't told anyone I was a skier, and it was hard not to laugh when Dean said,
Anyone ever teach you how to fucking hurry?
"No,
What are those?
bagels."
Are these from Bluebell?
Yeah, it's on the way from my house.
Seriously? You might as well have stopped at a fucking homeless shelter. You might as well have walked into a motherfucking homeless shelter and said, I'd like a dozen bagels from this homeless shelter, please. I do not eat bagels from Blue fucking Bell, Molly, because these are poor people bagels.
From where would you like me to get your bagels? In
Forget
the
about the
future?
fucking bagels.
Done.
Except smarten up.
Got it.
Hang on.
Like I said, the day started by being about bagels, but that would abruptly change.
My weekly poker game is moving to the Cobra Lounge. Tomorrow night and then every Tuesday night, you'll help run it. Take these names and numbers, tell them to bring 10 grand in cash for the first buy-in. The blinds are 5,100. And Molly,
Yeah.
don't fucking tell anybody.
I'd regarded Dean as a nitwit when I regarded him at all. But on that pad were 9 names, along with phone numbers, of some of the wealthiest and most famous people in the world. I put the numbers in my phone and composed a simple message. There'd be a game tomorrow night at the Cobra Lounge. There was a $10,000 buy-in. All 9 players confirmed that they'd be there. All within 90 seconds of my sending the text. The Cobra Lounge sits on the edge of the Sunset Strip, and in its heyday was famous for introducing unknown bands like The Doors and the Beach Boys. All I knew was schoolwork and skiing. I'd always figured sophistication would be easy to learn if I ever needed it. My cheese platter had a sticker that read, "Cheese, from the great state of Michigan." Diego, a professional dealer, was setting up the table when I got there. I Googled, what type of music do poker players like to listen to? And then tried to figure out how to make a playlist out of one Kenny Rogers song. I set up the bar, put out my cheese platter, and positioned myself at the door where I'd been instructed to only let in the names on the list. I was wearing my best dress, which I bought 2 years earlier at JCPenney for $88. The players started to arrive. I introduced myself as Molly, Dean's assistant.
Are you?
Asked if I could get them a drink. And took from each of them $10,000 in cash.
Hi.
Hi. I know.
Everybody here?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Fuck off. I'm gonna own your shit. Ugly dress, ugly shoes. Let's play!
Diego fanned 9 cards out on the table, and the players chose for seats. I just finished counting out $90,000 in cash. I was in a room with movie stars, directors, rappers, boxers, and business titans. They were going all in, all the time, burning through their buy-ins over and over. Here you go. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
I don't know. I Googled every word I heard that I didn't know. Flop, river, 4th Street, tilt, cooler, boat, nuts.
Yeah, he's pot committed.
Playing the rush.
You keeping track of the buy-ins?
Yeah,
Where? Where's the paper?
spreadsheet. The game ended at 3:30, and when it did, that's when Dean shouted out,
Hey! Tip Molly if you want to get invited back next week.
"Tip Molly." Deep down, I didn't like the sound of that.
Thank you so much.
Deep down, I knew that when your boss says,
And Molly,
"Yeah,
don't fucking tell anybody.
That's usually not the beginning of a promising law career.
See you next week.
But that was deep down. I just made $3,000. What are you reading?
The Crucible.
For school?
My father assigned it.
Do you know how many witches were burned in Salem?
How many?
None. They didn't burn witches, it's a myth. They hanged them, or drowned them, or crushed them with heavy rocks.
Wait, you're Molly Bloom, right?
Yeah,
You don't look the same as in your photos.
none of us do.
Molly?
Yes.
Charlie Jaffe.
Thank you again for seeing me so early.
This is my daughter, Stella.
We met.
Isabel will be here in 45 minutes to take you to school. Finish your math?
Yeah.
Civ?
Yeah.
Do you know it? Could you teach it in class today? If I asked you to teach me Roman law, could you do it?
Yes.
Okay. So, first things first. When was the last time you slept? Today's Friday.
Tuesday morning at 5 a.m., I was arrested by the FBI. I spent Tuesday in LA County Jail. I was assessed to be a minimal flight risk, and bail was set at $100,000. My mother signed over her house. I was released on Wednesday and ordered to appear in federal court in New York's Southern District, 10 a.m. today.
In here. Close that, will you?
I flew here Wednesday and met with 5 attorneys yesterday.
Have a seat. You didn't hire any of them?
3 of them had already been taken.
Yeah, 31 people were named in your indictment. It's Black Friday for criminal lawyers. What about the other 2?
One told me money was his second favorite form of payment.
I know him.
The 5th was also taken, but he recommended I call you.
Why?
I told him I wanted someone who'd worked in the prosecutor's office and wasn't even a little bit shady. Do you know about me?
Well, I've been briefed a little by my daughter, who knows a lot about your story because her mother's a moron.
Her mother reads the tabloids.
Yeah, and I read them too. I read your indictment after I got your call last night, and I bought your book. I'm only on page 112, but Molly, did you commit a felony and then write a book about it?
I haven't run a game in over 2 years. Not to spoil the ending, but that's when the government raided my game and took all of my money, assuming all of it was made illegally, which it wasn't. I've been living in my mother's house in Telluride, and I wrote the book so I could start paying off debts. I just finished the press tour for the book, and I moved back to Los Angeles so I could start over.
You ran games in L.A. for roughly 8 years?
Yeah,
Without taking a rake.
right.
And then you ran games in New York for roughly 2.
Well, I took a break the last 6 months.
In the first 112 pages, you name a bunch of names.
Sorry?
You name the name of some movie stars that played in your game.
Yeah.
They're not against some sort of poker code?
Am I supposed to be sitting all the way over here? Can you hear me from there?
Yeah.
Are you taking me on as a client?
My retainer is $250,000. Do you have $250,000?
No, I don't have anything.
What about the sales from your book?
The book isn't jumping off the shelves, but I will find a way to pay you, Charlie. Ask around about me.
Unfortunately, the people I'd ask are going away for a while. What happened on Tuesday morning was called a GPS takedown. 31 people were arrested in the same instance. Something in excess of 600 agents were dispatched to locations in New York and LA in coordinated strikes with automatic weapons. And you're trying to tell me you're in my office because you raked a game of Texas Hold'em.
Yes.
Have you seen the other names in your indictment? Nicholas Kozlovsky, Peter Drzynski, Peter Antonovich, the Gershon brothers. I mean, come on, Marty. Just how deep into the Russian mob were you? Because your book doesn't say.
Why are you making your daughter read The Crucible?
So she can see what happens to a group of bored teenage girls when they gossip.
I never read the play.
Well, many consider it to be the best play of the 20th century.
Is that what many consider it to be?
I don't defend violent criminals.
I've never heard anyone in my life.
Your friends have.
I've never heard of 90% of the names on the indictment.
other 10%?
I didn't know they were connected. I had no idea who they really were.
Let me ask you a question. The character in the book you call Dean Keith, he didn't say poor people bagels, did he? I think I know who he is. I think I know a real estate lawyer that worked with him and quit. He said, nigger bagels, right?
I'm not telling you his real name. He's not involved in this.
But you were willing to name some names.
Why is the FBI arresting me 2 years after I stopped running games?
Were you paid extra in your book deal to name the movie stars? I'm not your guy, Monty. I wish you good luck, but this just isn't for me.
I didn't know who the Russians were. I can get you the 250,000. I left 10 times that on the street. It'll just take some time.
We regularly lend out our best litigators like me to the ACLU, Civil Poverty Law Center, veterans groups, but I don't think I can convince my partners to take a flyer on the Poker Princess.
I didn't name myself the Poker Princess.
Molly Bloom, self-proclaimed Poker Princess.
Is that Us Weekly? Yeah, I would agree. It would be unusual for them to print something that wasn't true. But it's not true. And if you think a princess can do what I did, you're incorrect. I'm getting you don't think much of me, but what if every one of your ill-informed, unsophisticated opinions about me were wrong?
I'd be amazed.
Yeah, you know what, bud? You would.
You don't need me. You need a publicist.
No, I need a fucking lawyer.
You didn't answer my question. When was the last time you slept?
It was a while ago.
All right. I'm going to walk you through the arraignment this morning because you shouldn't do that alone. I'm going to put some bodies on you, walk you through the side door because I don't know what you've got on the Russians, but neither do they, and the Russians take care of shit. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Almost. You gotta keep your eyes up, okay? Always gotta look ahead. If you look down, that's where you're gonna go. Hmm? If you look down, that's where you go. Ready? Let's go.
My father's a therapist and a psychology professor at Colorado State.
No! No!
The second rule of his house is that academic excellence and athletic excellence weren't optional.
Can't be afraid of it, all right? Don't play defense.
And the first rule was that he made all the rules.
Again.
Dad, I'm pretty tired.
And she's tired. We've been out here since 6 o'clock. Her lips are blue.
You tired?
Yeah.
What's another word for tired? Name a synonym for tired, and we'll get in the car.
Weak.
That's right. Let's go home.
Again.
I decided to postpone law school another year. After 6 weeks of tips, I went to Barney's and asked for a dress that made me look nothing like myself. I'd overheard stories about games that folded after one bad night, and I needed this one to keep going, and I needed to bring value to it. I knew if I wanted to cement my place, there was one guy I needed to team up with,
10,000.
and that was this man. The game had regulars and the game had guests,
Check a bet.
and 4 of the regulars were famous actors, and I'm gonna call one of them Player X.
I'm all in.
Player X subscribed to the belief that money won was twice as good as money earned. He lived to beat people and take their money. Here's Player X talking one of the guests into folding the winning
I
hand.
swear on... Look at me. I swear on my mother's life I have you.
Player X was the best player at the table, and tonight, this guy was the worst. He's staring at his cards. Even a reasonably good amateur would know it was mathematically the best hand, which in poker is called the nuts. There was $47,000 in the pot, and the guest was holding the nuts, but he was starting to get confused because a movie star was talking to him.
My mother's life, man. I'm not messing with you.
Why would you be telling me?
Either I am messing with you, or you're new to the game, you've had bad cards all night, you should have folded after the flop, and I don't want to win more of your money this way. I've got queens under here. Take your time.
fold.
Fuck you.
A fish is a particular kind of player. A fish has money. A fish plays loose and doesn't fold a lot. Fish is good, but not too good.
There's an ATM in the hall, bro.
The Cobra Lounge may have belonged to Dean Keith, but the game belonged to Player X. People wanted to say they played with him, the same way they wanted to say they rode on Air Force One. My job security was going to depend on bringing him his fish. But where would I find people with a lot of money who didn't know how to spend it and liked to be around celebrities? If they say they're interested in poker, you give them my number, I vet them. They end up playing in a game, I'll give you $1,000 the first time they play, $500 every time after that. Be sure to mention, these guys are all regulars.
Is this true? These guys play?
The Commerce Casino is off the 5 freeway in East LA, and no one's ever going to confuse it with Monte Carlo. I'd watched the tables for a while before I approached a friendly-looking pit boss. Third chair at table A can't lose.
Unless there are players at his table who can win.
You know how the game at the Cobra Lounge, right?
Sure.
1,000 for every player you send me. You get a piece of what they lose. No pros. I'm Molly. Poker was my Trojan horse into the highest level of finance, technology, politics, entertainment, art. All I had to do was listen.
The art world is controlled by a few major dealers.
China's telecom companies want to partner with other providers.
The owners don't mind spending $30 million on an outfielder who hits .320 with 110 RPM. They alone control the market. They choose the artists they want to be important. They don't mind spending $10 million on a pitcher who was 8-14 this season. It's going to be Gephardt. They set the prices. They mark them up 70, 80, 90%.
Yeah, they're all very excited about a company called Twitter.
Unregulated money, usually about cash.
His days are numbered.
His days are numbered. I don't know how much longer she's going to be in that job. She's done. She's gone. All in.
People have asked me what my goal was at that point. What was my end game? Back then I would have laughed at the question. I was raised to be a champion. My goal was to win. At what and against whom? Those were just details.
I'm all in.
I had my own apartment now.
I'll take it.
A new car, and $17,000 in a shoebox. Law school could wait one more year.
Next, please. Come on through. Come on up, please. You, come on through.
So, here's all that's gonna happen today. The judge is gonna ask each defendant if they've read the indictment or they'd like the court to read it to them. Then the judge is gonna ask how you plead. You're gonna answer not guilty. I'll make it clear for the record that I'm not your counsel, but I am appearing on your behalf at the arraignment in propria persona.
Impropria persona means on your behalf.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying it means on your behalf.
I am appearing on your behalf.
Impropria persona means you're appearing on your behalf, not my behalf.
I'll check that out, but the point is, I'm not your lawyer, and I'll make that clear for the record. That's just over there. No, let you sit there and you sit like this. You've got a good judge. He's a good guy.
Counsel, please state your appearance for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Harrison Wellstone, Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, joined at counsel table by Assistant U.S. Attorney Eric Brennan and FBI Special Agent Deborah D'Angelo.
Thank you. Are there any oral motions at this time?
Search him.
Mark Cernovich, on behalf of the defendant, Mr.
Just in case your lawyer doesn't mention it. Next time you appear in front of the judge, you might want to rethink your clothes, okay? You look like the Cinemax version of yourself.
I sold my clothes when the government seized all of my money 2 years ago, which incidentally was the last time I ran a game. But I think I already mentioned that.
Okay.
Not guilty.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Defendant number 2, Nicholas Seagull.
Has the defendant seen a copy of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you discussed it with your lawyer?
Yes.
Do you waive its public reading?
Yes.
And how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Thank you. You may have a seat.
Your old boss, the one in the book you called Dean Keith, he was terrible to you. I cover up for him by changing it to poor people bagels.
I promise you it couldn't matter less.
defendant seen a copy of the indictment?
Just making conversation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hey,
Discuss
switch
with
back.
the lawyer.
Have? And what is he? Not guilty.
Have a seat.
Defendant number 4, Molly Bloom.
Good morning, Your Honor. Charles Jaffe for the defendant. Just for the purposes...
Well, it's good to see you, Mr. Jaffe. Are you with us this morning? Mr. Jaffe?
Yes, sir. Just, one moment. Switch back.
Seriously?
You said you got 10 times that much on the street. In my office, when I said the retainer was $250,000, you said I have 10 times that much.
Counsel, I need to record your appearance.
Please, the court, Your Honor. Just one moment. Your extended credit, you're destitute, and you leave $2.5 million on the street?
Well, I had to.
Didn't anyone try to buy your debt sheet?
Everyone tried to buy my debt sheet. Is this the right time?
Why didn't you sell it like you sold your clothes?
I couldn't.
Why?
I couldn't be sure how they were going to collect.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Counsel!
Yes, Your Honor. Charles Jaffe for the defendant.
For the purposes of this hearing only?
No, sir. I am Molly Bloom's attorney. She's read the indictment, discussed it with a lawyer, waives the right to have it read to her, and pleads not guilty.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Defendant number 5, Ilya Gershman.
I'm gonna have to keep reading your book.
There was a track star in the 1930s named Matthew Robinson. Matthew Robinson shattered the Olympic record in the 200 at the Berlin Games in 1936. Absolutely shattered the Olympic record. And came in second. The man who came in first was Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens went on to be a legend. Matthew Robinson went on to be a janitor at a whites-only middle school in Pasadena. The difference was 0.4 of a second. As if that wasn't enough, Matthew Robinson had a little brother who was also an athlete. His name was Jackie. I have 2 younger brothers who are overachievers as well. While I was ranked 3rd in North America, my brother Jeremy was number 1 in the world. And while I was placing into AP chemistry as a sophomore, my brother Jordan was doing it when he was 12 years old or something, I don't know. I was a hotshot student and a hotshot skier everywhere but my own house. As I got older, I began to bait my father into fights without really knowing why I was doing it.
What did everyone learn in school today?
I learned that Sigmund Freud was both a misogynist and an idiot, and anyone who relies on his theories of human psychology is a quack.
I don't know why you'd say that.
You asked me what I learned in school today.
Is this Mrs. Linwood?
Yep.
Did she happen to mention anything about his work on the unconscious mind?
His dream analysis has the credibility of a horoscope, but what got my attention was that he opposed the women's emancipation movement. He believed that a woman's life is about her reproductive functions.
So you're really getting to the nuts and bolts of why middle-class suburban white girls have been oppressed for centuries.
No, Mrs. Linwood was just...
Barbara Linwood doesn't like men, Molly.
She doesn't like dicks, Dad. There's a difference.
Molly.
Don't disrespect me like that at the table.
I wasn't disrespecting you. I was disrespecting Freud. And it's the kitchen table, not the tomb of the unknown soldier.
And I'm a professional psychologist, not a quack.
I never said you were
Yeah,
a
you
quack.
did, and don't do it again. And don't ever use language like that again.
Okay. Ignore my teachers, watch my language, and respect the kitchen table. What else do I need to do before I'm allowed to disagree with you?
Make your own money so you can live in your own house and eat your own food.
I've been running the game for 3 years and saved $58,000.
13 more.
I was recruiting and vetting players, keeping the books,
Call.
collecting and delivering checks, meeting the needs of all the players throughout the week, and still working full-time for Dean Keith, who made it clear that if I quit the office job, I'd lose the game.
Call.
8's full of 9s.
Again. That's how. Every time.
I thought he had trips too. He was slow playing into the river and he hit the pocket 8 pretty well. tough beat, man. You owe the game.
I know what I owe the game. I want to talk to you a minute.
Okay.
In the hall. Is he cheating?
No,
How would you know?
I know.
He and Diego aren't in bed together?
No.
What about him and you?
A 52-card deck produces hundreds of millions of random patterns. But every time one of you loses 2 weeks in a row, you're sure something fishy's going on? Come on.
I'm gonna stop paying you.
What do you mean?
As my assistant.
Firing?
I'm not firing you, I'm just gonna stop paying you. You get paid once a week from the game. It doesn't seem fair.
But I also have a job working for you
And if
24
you
hours
didn't
a
have
day.
that job, you wouldn't have the game. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand each of the words that you're saying, but I don't understand what you're... 24 hours a day, every day. You're gonna stop paying me to do that job because I'm making too much money doing my second job, and if I say no, I'll lose both jobs because it doesn't seem fair?
Business is bad right now. Welcome to the real world.
All right, here it is. Banks are loaning you money, and they shouldn't. You're bad risk, they know it. So the debt service on your loans is close to 20%, which is crazy. 20% is barely survivable if it's a bridge loan. But, like, for instance, it's taken you 10 years to build 7 houses, all of which are worth less than they were before you built them because the housing market is on a downward trajectory for the first time in the history of houses. And that's why business is doing bad, not because you're paying me $450 a week.
You're a business savant.
I've read every piece of paper in your office.
You're making thousands in tips every week. Why do you care about $450
Because I don't want
a
to
week?
pick up your dry cleaning for free.
You don't have bargaining power here. You can refuse the pay cut, but you lose the game. Cash me out, please.
I wasn't going to wait for Dean to take the game away from me before I put a plan in place. The next morning, I made appointments at the Four Seasons, the Peninsula, and the Beverly Hills Hotel. The suite was $5,200 a night. I spent $17,000 on a shuffle master that was installed in the table. Faster, more reliable shuffles, less downtime between hands. Food was brought in from Mr. Chow and available to eat on the side tables. There was Macallan 18, Belvedere, 1942, Remy Martin, and an 88 Lafite Rothschild served by a bartender who already memorized your drink. Cohibas and Monte Cristo were in the humidor. A professional stylist turned me into what my defense attorney would later call the Cinemax version of myself. I spent almost everything I had in preparation for the phone call I knew was coming. Hello?
I want you to listen to me, because you need to hear this.
Where are you?
I need to tell you something in plain English, and I need to know that you understood it.
Dean.
You are unimportant. Do you hear me? And you are fired. The job, the game, you're fired.
Can I ask why?
How many of my friends are you sleeping with?
I'm not sleeping with any of them.
That's not what I heard.
Listen to me. With a hazmat suit, I wouldn't...
Some advice? Lose the bitchy air. Lose the superior air. And go to the office and get your stuff and be out of there before I show up.
Hey, are you Molly?
Yeah,
I'm Leah. Dean asked me to pack your personals.
I appreciate it.
He also asked me to get the numbers of tonight's players so I can confirm the list. I'm really sorry.
Don't be. My phone's in my car. I'll text you all the numbers you need when I get downstairs. I texted my replacement a bunch of random numbers with 310 area codes. Then I sent a text to the players for tonight and told them the game had been moved to the Four Seasons Hotel, Suite 1401.
C'est si bon de partir n'importe où. Bras dessus, bras dessous, en chantant des chansons. C'est si bon de se dire des mots doux, de petits riens du tout, mais qui en disent en langue.
Fellas, can I have your attention for a moment?
Notre mineur.
Where's Dean?
I'll be hosting a game in this suite every Tuesday night. If you play tonight, you'll be guaranteed a chair for a year. If you'd prefer to play at the Cobra Lounge, there'll be no hard feelings.
Let's play.
The game was mine now. I incorporated and Molly Bloom Event Planning was born. I paid taxes and 1099 my employees. I never became romantically or sexually involved with any of the players. The game would have fallen apart. This was back when I was still making good decisions. And I went to a lawyer to make absolutely sure all this was legal.
Are you taking a rake?
No,
Then you're not breaking the law. So can I give you some advice?
please.
There's a saying in my business, don't break the law when you're breaking the law.
What do you mean?
No drugs, no prostitutes, no muscle to collect debts.
I don't do anything like that. But you just said I wasn't breaking the
You
law.
want to keep it that way because you don't want to break the law when you're breaking the law.
Am I breaking the law?
Not really.
We're able to find out for sure, aren't we? Laws are written down.
You're not taking a percentage of the pot.
No?
You're running a square game.
My game had a tricky ecosystem. These guys could buy anything. But here, in this room, you couldn't buy your win. You couldn't buy me. You couldn't buy the girls. And you couldn't buy a seat at the table. There's nothing as sweet as a win you have to work for. And the wins and losses were compelling, and they were real. Of course, it helped that the players were gambling addicts. Can I see you for a second? Jay, you're famous. You are an international rock star.
Oh, I wasn't sure you'd noticed.
You can't send emails like that.
Well, it's not a federal production, okay? I just invited you to Cabo for the weekend.
The next woman you send an email like that to is not going to be me. It's going to be someone else. You're playing with fire.
I'm telling you that I'm in love with you, and you are worried about me getting blackmailed. Oh my, that just makes me more into you.
Lemon head. They won't need to blackmail you. They can get just as much money from TMZ. And TMZ will give them what they really
Tell
want.
me the truth. Was mine the first love letter you've gotten from a player?
It was the 7th. All digitally transmitted. You are begging for your life to be turned into a very public hell.
So that's a no on Cabo?
Why don't you just give your wife and kids a break and run them over with a limo?
I love the way that you talk to me.
Oh, God.
I've had a thought.
Yeah?
Raise the stakes.
To what?
50K buy-in. Blinds are 250, 500.
That's a 500% hike.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea.
You guys give me the room for a second.
Sure. The players that are losing 100,000 a week are going to be losing $500,000.
Players winning 100,000 a week.
We'll have no one left to play with. Players are going to get hurt, others are going to get killed, and some will drop out. It's not sustainable. We'll lose the game.
Find new players.
He meant find new fish. I went recruiting again. First up was Donnie Silverman. Donnie won the World Series of Poker last year and got in touch with me through one of the players.
You fucking nuts? Donnie Silverman won the World Series of Poker.
You can watch it online. He took 11 hands at the final table, but he had the nuts on 8 of them. And 3 of those, 3 were 2 outers with 4 players still in the hand. He ran hot. He doesn't lock his chips down. He's reckless. He gives tons of action, and he's got $12 million.
You know, I don't like playing poker.
Why do you play?
I like destroying lives. Give me a chair.
The next recruit was Brad Marion, who everyone called Bad Brad because he was uniquely terrible at this game. If there was a worse player in the world, Brad would still find a way to lose to him. Sorry, I don't have a chair, but you're welcome to a drink.
No, I just came to introduce you to Brad.
All in. Calling it. Yeah, call.
Sorry.
I just wanted to introduce you to Brad Marion. He wants to play.
Give me his information, I'll check him out.
No, Derek's gonna vouch for him.
Derek's gonna vouch for him meant Derek would cover any losses if Brad didn't pay, up to any amount. Hi, I'm Molly Bloom.
Brad Marion.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
But he could pay, and had to, because he embraced the fallacy of being pot committed.
I'm all in.
You've already invested so much. You might as well see it through to the end.
Move it up, 2,000 to call.
Bad Brad had raised $700 million for a fund that traded oil futures, and every week he came to the game, lost $100,000 and tipped me $5,000 so he could play the next week.
Thank you.
He wasn't getting any better, and the guys were feasting on him.
Can I get another 50?
Can we talk for a second?
Sure.
Brad, this game might not be for you.
I know I'm no card shark.
No, you're not. Here are your losses after 10 weeks, and you've won never. It's actually a statistical anomaly.
Yeah, I know. I like playing with the guys. I don't have that many friends. Don't take my seat away. I can tip you more.
No. Your tips are very generous. How about I get you some books? Or even a pro to give you lessons?
Yeah, maybe. Let me think about it.
Okay. Turned out Bad Brad knew what he was doing. He was getting customers. He'd drop his 100K at the game and pick up $4 million for his hedge fund.
Tell him what's smart this week. Not me.
More on that later, but first, Harlan Eustace. Player X said he met Harlan at the Commerce Casino and that he'd be good for the game, but I wasn't seeing what he was seeing. He played tight, folding after the whole card 64% of the time. It wasn't clear where his money came from. He produced backyard wrestling videos and other low-rent productions. But worst of all, Harlan Eustace was a good card player. Why would Player X want someone at the game who could beat him? I'd learned the answer to that one the hard way.
How was your flight?
Just fine.
How are you paying for tickets between LA and New York?
I had 2 million points left on my Amex. They took the card but let me keep the points, which I thought was nice of them.
You had meetings. You had meetings in LA about your book and life rights.
I did.
Was there any interest?
A company that owns 4,000 video poker machines wants to put my face on them.
Anything else?
Treat Magazine made a generous offer.
Treat.
It's a new magazine for the high-end photography enthusiasts.
They want you to pose naked.
I'd be the April treat.
I meant interest in your book.
Yeah.
Any offers?
A few, I guess. Couple. 5.
Really?
Yeah.
And
I passed.
you're destitute and you passed on 5 offers to turn your book
You
into
will
a
be
movie?
paid, Charlie.
I'm just curious as to why you passed on what would appear to be the only way out you have.
Creative differences.
Okay.
Should we start?
You know, I am gonna figure you out.
Well, let me know what you find.
You see this? This is discovery. Let's see what we discovered. Over here we have Peter Jasinski, Peter Antonovich, and Peter Slobo, the 3 Petes. Now, the 3 Petes run a chain of corrupt medical clinics and have been committing insurance fraud, wire fraud, and mail fraud on an epic scale. Now, over here we have the Ragnayana Gershon organization. They're a worldwide bookmaking operation handling hundreds of millions of dollars a year in illegal sports betting. And over here we have the Alexander Habib organization. This is also an illegal sports betting organization, but this one financed by an art gallery owned by Shalil Habib, who everyone calls
Shelley.
This is the Russian mafia, and the 3 are tied together in the indictment through a poker game.
Were they tapping my phones?
No,
Thank God.
they were tapping the phones of everyone you talked to.
Okay.
They've got you confirming that you ran rigged games at the Plaza Hotel in various locations in New York. They've also got a confidential informant confirming that you ran rigged games at the Plaza Hotel in various locations in New York. You were in violation of 1955, which is a part of the U.S. code that makes it illegal to run an illegal gambling business. You know what you did? You finished writing the book before the good part happened.
You really get a kick out of yourself, don't you?
You know, I don't like this picture.
Thank you.
You look like the cat that ate the canary and then told the canary's parents about it.
It's a picture the publisher wanted and I didn't get a vote.
I like the book. Good story, well told.
Thank you.
I need you to tell it again, though, from the beginning, and this time without skipping over the Russians. Would you like a glass of water?
I'd like a glass of bourbon.
One more thing.
Yeah?
I need your hard drives.
Going back how far?
What do you mean?
Well, I kept my hard drives when I buy a new laptop.
You're kidding.
No, it had a record of who owed what and spreadsheets on the players.
It has more than that. Every time you charge your phone by plugging it into the computer takes a record of all your text messages and emails.
My laptop has a record of all text messages and emails received years ago on phones that have been smashed with an aluminum bat.
I want to run forensic imaging on your hard drives.
Oh, no, thanks anyway, but I'll be destroying those hard drives.
Oh, you can't do that. They're evidence.
Well, I'm gonna blow them up. I am literally gonna use explosives and scatter the remains in the sea.
Except you told me they exist.
You're gonna have to pretend I didn't tell you.
Can't do that.
Yes, you can.
You were the one who wanted a lawyer that wasn't even a little bit shady.
New information has come to light, and now I see that that was stupid.
Molly,
there are no hard drives.
If you destroy evidence and obstruct justice on top of the charges already brought against you in this case, you will be, I promise, incarcerated.
You don't understand what's in those text messages.
I understand you've had boyfriends, and there'll be some exchanges that are a little bit, embarrassing.
I
but
don't
nobody...
care about embarrassing text messages from boyfriends, as there is not left the smallest corner of my private life that isn't available for public scrutiny. There are messages that would destroy other lives. There are messages that would end careers and obliterate families. If those text messages were to be made public...
They won't be.
If they were, it would be catastrophic for many
I'm a lawyer.
people.
I'm legally...
No.
Listen to me. I am legally prohibited from disclosing anything
Someone leaked my last deposition to the National Enquirer, Charlie.
Butterball.
My last lawyer's name was Butterman, and he was one of 5 people in the room besides me. But the information in that deposition would be nothing compared to the consequences of those text messages
Just got it.
showing up everywhere.
I couldn't figure out why you named some people but not others. I thought that maybe some people paid you.
You were wrong, but doesn't matter.
No, the only people you named in that book were the ones that were already named in the bad Brad Marion deposition, which you think
I know.
somebody leaked it
Sold
to the
it.
tabloids.
Yes.
Maybe even Butterbean.
Butterman, but I don't know who it was.
I watched Jenny McCarthy beat you up for naming the players. Why don't you just say, hey, those names are already public record?
I don't know, because I wasn't on The View under subpoena. Can we please get back to the emails and texts?
Is that why you have creative differences with the Hollywood office? Because they want information you won't give them?
I don't know you. If what happened last time were to happen this time, it would make what happened last time... What is this for?
It's got every text message and email I sent in the last year, as well as a variety of incriminating evidence about my clients. Now, if anything of yours gets leaked, you can sell my phone to the highest bidder, and I'll lose my job and get disbarred.
So in order to demonstrate the sanctity of your attorney-client confidentiality, you're betraying the confidentiality of all your other clients.
I know you're not going to look at it.
How do you know?
I don't know.
I'll fly home to Colorado and be back the next day with the hard drives. Harlan Eustace was excited about the surprise 40th birthday party he was throwing for his wife in 24 hours.
Rented out the whole courtyard at the Buffalo Club. There'll be about 100 people. Kumamoto oysters, snow crabs, lobsters.
He wasn't ticking off menu items to show off. He was genuinely excited about the party he was giving his wife.
She doesn't know anything about it. She thinks we're having dinner with his brother and his wife.
I liked Harlan, but nobody else liked him except Player X. He played tight.
Full.
Didn't give a lot of action, and always got his money in good, which means he was running the odds.
5,000 to call.
No.
In other words, he was playing poker, and the others were gambling. And he won. By midnight, Harlan had tripled his original $50,000 buy-in. But everything came off the rails with one hand. And that's how it happens. That's how you go full tilt. Harlan, the best player at the table, the best player at most tables, was about to get bluffed off the win by, of all people, Bad Brad. How? Because Harlan had never played with Brad before and didn't know yet that Brad was bad. Harlan's got a boat. 9's full. Brad's got nothing, but his pre-flop betting made it look entirely accidentally like there was a chance he had pocket kings.
20,000.
Which, if true, would give him the better full house. Brad's counting off 20,000, which means he's gonna call. And Harlan knows that if Brad's gonna call and not raise, it means he didn't have the boat. And he's betting a high 2-pair, probably kings and queens. But then instead of calling the bet, Brad pushes $72,000 into the pot.
I'm all in.
Harlan looks at Brad. Every tell Harlan knows about, carotid artery pumping, stiff hands, Brad's doing the opposite. Brad's betting represented a huge hand by calling on the flop, check-raising the turn and bombing the river. Of course, Harlan didn't know that Brad didn't know what any of that meant. So Harlan, always a good sport, said,
Nice bet. I'm laying this down.
as he tossed in what he didn't realize was the winning hand. Brad tosses in his cards too, and one of them flips over and Harlan sees.
You didn't have pocket kings?
I didn't have any kings, except the one in the middle.
You had 2 pair?
I had 1 pair. The 9's in the middle. Thank you.
It wasn't even that it was that much money. Harlan only lost about 40,000 on the hand. But a circuit breaker blew, and Harlan was out for blood now. everyone's. You have 112,000 on the table. You want another 50?
Give me another 100, please.
Sign here for 100,000. By 5 a.m., Harlan was down $500,000. He'd abandoned everything he knew about poker and was playing like a frat kid, swinging for a home run on every hand.
Another 100, please.
Hey, bud.
Molly, please, let's go.
Sign here for 100. Text messages were going out letting everyone know Harlan was bleeding. Guys were coming by to play for a couple hours before work. They'd been losing to him for months. Everyone wanted a check from Harlan Eustace. If you go home now, you can have a few hours of sleep before Sheila's party.
Soon.
Come talk to me. Hi, guys. Help yourself to some coffee. You're on tilt. Everybody knows it. You're playing without the weapons you need to win.
You're right.
All right, thank you.
Just give me 500,000. I just gotta get back to even.
That should be the second line of every gambler's obit. Mr. Feldstein died while trying to get back to even. Harlan never did, and he never got to his wife's birthday party. She filed for divorce 2 days later. But there was one last punch coming that would put Harlan on the floor for good. Harlan was heads up against a guy named Frederick, who was Austrian royalty.
Call.
Harlan had pocket queens. His Excellency had ace-king. They were both in 65K pre-flop. Flops queen 7-7. Harlan has a full house again, queens full of sevens, with 3 rounds of betting in front of him. The Count has nothing.
All in.
And the Count goes all in. He wants Harlan to think he's got 2 more sevens under there.
Call.
Nope, says Harlan. He's not falling for this again, and he snap calls all in. There's $750,000 on the table. Diego burns a card and deals a turn. A king. Otto von Bismarck now has 2 pair, kings and sevens. The 2 pairs nothing next to a full house. And at this point, the only hand left that can beat a queen full house is a king full house. Captain Von Trapp left 2 pair and rivered into kings full.
Motherfucker! Motherfucker! Fuck you, you fucking mechanic!
Hey!
Fuck you, you bottom dealing party magician!
Hey, get out of
You've been pulling this shit on me for 2 days!
Come on, come on.
Party magician.
You good?
Thanks.
What the hell?
I'll apologize to Diego.
Yeah. And you're gonna go home. I'm making a floor call, that's it. Did you hear me?
I don't have it. $1.2 million. I don't have it. I'm sorry.
Go home.
I'm very sorry.
You gotta tell Sheila the truth, okay? Tell her the truth. Tell her what happened. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna get you to a meeting. We'll meet tomorrow and figure out what to do about the money. Harlan and I didn't meet the next day. He just called me and said everything was okay and showed up the next week with a bank check for $1,200,000. Where'd he get the money from?
I loaned it to him.
Loaned it.
I get 50% of his wins until the debt's paid off, and then 50% for the next 2 years with no exposure.
You're getting 50% of the wins and no exposure on the losses?
Yeah.
First of all, he'll never climb out of that. That's sharecropper math. It's also usury. It's racketeering. Second, you can't stake a player and play in a game at the same time.
I've been doing it for 2 years.
You've been staking Harlan?
Yeah. It's not cheating.
It creates the opportunity for it.
Tell me how.
Are you kidding me?
Tell me how.
If you have interest in another player,
You think I'm gonna take a dive? And if I did, who would care?
You fold your whole cards. 5 of clubs, Jack of hearts. He's still in the game. It would benefit him to know that the 5 of clubs,
You think
Jack
I'm
of
signaling
hearts,
him?
I'm saying it can't fucking happen again.
You disapprove of me.
It's not personal.
It feels personal when you chat up every other guy at the game except me. When you stay late for a drink with JT, but never... Have you visited his Oscar? I think it's bolted on the hood of his car. It's noticeable when you go out of your way to demonstrate that you have no interest in me. You did the same thing to Dean. These guys want to play cards with me, not you.
Be that as it may.
You know who the biggest winner in this game is?
It's you.
You know who the second biggest winner is?
Look.
It's you. What are you taking home? 10,000 a night now?
That is my business, literally.
Between you, the dealers, and the servers, you're taking a lot of money out of this game.
Not as much as I'm bringing to it.
That 10,000 is 10,000 that doesn't go in my pocket.
Again, my money.
Your money is my money.
Is it?
I think we should talk about capping your tips.
You want to get together with the other players who on my tax returns are called clients and discuss putting a ceiling on my wages?
That's right.
It'll be America's most closely watched antitrust case. Right there, right then, that fast, I lost the game. It was the next Tuesday, game night. He waited until he knew I'd be on the way to the hotel and then sent me a text. It said, "We're playing at Dave's tonight. No need to show up." And I knew the truth even before I answered the call that came next.
We're so fucked.
There's no such word as verticality.
Hmm?
In the book, on page 152, when you lose the game in LA and you come to New York, you admire the city's verticality.
It's a word.
But once you're in New York, you talk about games lasting all night, 2 nights, being up for days, but you don't mention drugs.
There were drugs. I'm 2 years clean.
She left the drugs out of the book.
You know what? I'm not paying you $250,000 for your Amazon customer review.
So far, you're not paying me for anything.
I just emailed you verticality from Merriam-Webster's dictionary.
What's an advance on a book like this?
The advance? It depends.
If you guarantee the publishers certain elements, then I can get you $1.5 million, which would probably double in sales, plus ancillary rights.
What kind of elements?
You have to use real names.
Eli.
There's a guy who sits outside my Starbucks with a cardboard sign that says Vietnam vet, and every morning I give him a quarter. And right now, the only difference between you and him is that you have a story.
I'm 1,000% sure that the homeless Vietnam vet has a better one.
You have one asset. Write your story, and I can get you $1.5 million, and that's the floor. Go big or go home and live with your mother for the rest of your life.
What if I told the publishers that I would name the players who are already named in the Brad Marion deposition?
All four?
I'll use the real names of the players who are already named by Bad Brad. What if I told them
You
that?
spent 8 years in Hollywood and 2 years in New York running the world's most exclusive, glamorous, and decadent man cave. So what do the publishers get from you about people with real names?
My advance was $35,000.
Oh, first thing I'm gonna do is get you a minor role reduction. Get the 12 points knocked down to 10.
What's a minor role reduction?
I'm gonna argue to the prosecutor that you're an employee that was hired and fired by the players.
Not a chance.
I think we got a good chance.
No, not a chance. I'm letting you make that argument.
Why not?
It's not true.
Let me explain how the point system works.
I know how it works. Points correspond with a prosecutor's sentencing recommendation. You try to get a point reduction based on a variety of factors, including, say, prior criminal history, which I don't have, or whether the defendant played a minor role, which I certainly did not.
You really think this is a good time to hard
I
credit?
built it from scratch.
No, there was already a game at the Cobra Lounge when you came along.
The New York game is what I'm talking about. I built from scratch. I wasn't fireable. I made sure of that. So no.
I wasn't really listening.
I'm refusing you permission to seek a minor role reduction. I'm refusing you permission to invalidate my entire career.
And I'm not caring.
I built a successful...
Hey, do you want kids? You interested in having a family?
Very much.
I don't get you some point reductions, and the sentencing recommendation guidelines say 8 to 12 years, and that's before they try to jam you up more for money laundering.
Money laundering?
The moment you change the Russians' money for chips,
I would have had to have been aware where the money was...
Find me 12 men and women who believe that you weren't aware of exactly who was sitting at your table and where the money came from. So, that's it. You were a cocktail waitress.
When I lost the LA game, I told myself it was no big deal. It was just supposed to be an adventure and a way to meet influential people. And I'd saved over $200,000. But that was just a weak firewall I'd hastily built to keep out the humiliation and depression I knew was coming. It had to end sometime. I just thought it would be on my time. The game had given me an identity, respect, and a defined place in a world that was inaccessible. And in one irrational heartbeat, it was taken away. I was irrelevant and forgotten overnight. It'd been 2 weeks since I lost the game, and I made an appointment to see someone because now the humiliation and depression had given way to blinding anger at my powerlessness over the unfair whims of men. It was that there weren't any rules. These power moves weren't framed by right and wrong, just ego and vanity. Selfish whims with no regard for consequence, no fairness, no justice, and that giggling, cackling call from Player X.
You are so fucked.
I couldn't lose to that green-screened little shit, and I didn't want a therapist to make me feel okay about it. You know what makes you feel okay about losing? Winning. I got on a plane to New York. Wall Street, Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue, the Dakota, the San Remo. The players were here. I just had to bait the hook. This time, I didn't have movie stars. This time, I used Playboy playmates. These weren't just any playmates. Jessie was a Puerto Rican knockout who grew up working in card rooms and was a good player herself. I could stake her, infiltrate other games, and poach their big-ticket players. Shelby could write code and run more thorough background checks than the TSA. Winston was the daughter of an American diplomat. She's lived in 9 different countries and had the email addresses of half the Saudi royal family. Who's the biggest game in Manhattan?
On any given night, it's either Teddy Chin or Tootie Toscano. That's Manhattan.
What do you mean?
Biggest game in New York is in Brooklyn. Russian Jews. Buy-in's $100K. No one runs a game, they just play and pay.
We couldn't promise anyone they'd rub elbows with movie stars, but New York has one thing Hollywood doesn't: the Yankees. And there was one Yankee in particular that every man in America would line up to lose to. Don't say his name out loud. Write it on a cocktail napkin, crumple the napkin up, put it in a glass of water so they can see the ink dissolve.
That's really necessary?
No, it's not at all necessary.
When do we tell them the game's gonna start?
Tell them it's been happening once a week for about 6 months at a location you won't disclose right now. There's a pretty long waiting list for a chair, but Molly's here somewhere, and I'll introduce you to her.
50K buy-in, blinds are 5 and 1?
Yeah, 50.
Mall, 50K buy-in?
No, 250.
That's gonna make noise.
Enough to be heard on Rodeo Drive. The Gold Coast of Long Island has been home to the Vanderbilts, Roosevelts, Whitneys, J.P. Morgan, and F.W. Woolworth.
It's an impossible ticket to get, but I can talk to Molly.
Tonight was a $10,000 per person fundraiser to pay for major renovations at the East Hampton Yacht Club.
Molly's around here somewhere. I could introduce you, but I wouldn't get my hopes up.
That's for real. There was a charity event for residents of the Hamptons who own yachts. In my business, that's called a target-rich environment.
I have to tell you, the initial buy-in is $250,000.
$250,000, that's almost as much as my second car. Your friends come to the games?
Mm-hmm.
It took only 7 weeks of recruiting to get 10 players and 7 on a waiting list. And in these circles, that was more than enough to start the mythology. By morning, gamblers would be telling and hearing stories about this game in London, Tokyo, and Dubai.
All in.
At the end of that year, I reported an income of $4,773,000. Every square inch of it legal and on the books. I was the biggest game runner in the world. All tips. I still hadn't taken a rake, and I still hadn't accidentally recruited members of a Russian crime syndicate. In the beginning, I was using drugs to stay awake. First Adderall, then Adderall crushed up to defeat the time release. Then Coke, Valium, Vicodin, Percocet, and more Adderall. I rented a penthouse apartment and installed plasma screens for the sports bettors. I had the lower stakes games on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at my place, with Tuesday night at the Plaza being the big game. At 7, the dealers came, the table was set up and polished, and 10 chairs were placed around it, exactly 12 inches apart. I used custom chips and 2 dealers who worked an hour on, an hour off, with a new crew coming in after 12 hours. Casinos had discovered that certain scents make people more likely to place big bets. The casinos pump those scents in through the ventilation. I had custom candles made. I had been working with a new dealer named B. Not like Beatrice, just the initial. She'd been working in trashy card rooms on the east side, and we became friends. Tone it down. The big players don't like fast hands. Sarcastic dealing. Cool.
You've got to do it. Not doing it is insanity. You must be able to see that. You've been stiffed 4 or 5 times. You've got hundreds of thousands on the street. That's money you're never going to see again.
B had been suggesting it for a long time. She was suggesting it again because of an incident the week before. Hey, Cole.
Hey.
Come on in.
Thanks. You got my check?
I do. It's right here.
Thank you.
Hey, can I show you something on TV?
Actually, I'm in kind of a hurry.
Just take a second. Have a seat. This is last Tuesday's game.
Shit, Molly. If the guys find out you got cameras on them, they're gonna go nuts.
Yeah, that's you in the 7th chair. Look at your stack of chips.
I got a cab downstairs.
Look at the timestamp. 1:06 a.m. Let's fast forward to 1:07. 1:07, you lose a hand to Boosty.
Wait, what is this?
1:08. Our sheets say that you didn't buy in again between 1:06 and 1:08. But look at that. Your stack's bigger.
I can explain. It's just that.
Okay, let's rewind. This screen's got the dealer changeover, while at the same time on this screen, and there we are. This is why I can't reconcile $57,000 from Tuesday's game. A 7-Eleven's got security cameras on their slushy machine. I've got $1 million changing hands every 2 minutes, imbecile. You don't think I've got eyes on the table? Relax.
I owe people money.
I know. Why isn't it coming from the trust fund?
I need my parents' permission to get that much. And they kill me. You don't even understand what it's like.
People just don't realize trust fund kids are suffering in this economy, too.
I realize what I did was wrong.
Did it take a lot of soul searching to get you there?
I meant that...
Okay, first of all, the guys that are making the counterfeit chips are taking you for a ride. They know that there's signatures built in the chips. Exact weight, infrared markings. Breathe. Second, don't try this at anyone else's game, because if you do, they're gonna express their anger in a much different way than I am. You owe me $57,000. When I get it, you get the tape. But until then, you don't play in anyone's game. So when Tuesday night came, B was at it again.
Your exposure's crazy. It's not if, it's when. You're gonna get blown up. Your risk is nuts.
If I took a rake, this game would no longer be legal.
And if you can't cover, this game will no longer exist. You're the bank now. You're guaranteeing the game. If you see a hand you don't want to carry, just look at me, flash me a number, and I'll take it off the table. Most runners cap it at 5%. I'll see you out there.
See you out there. 2 weeks later, around 2 a.m., there was a pot that was up to 1.3 million pre-flop.
Call.
With 5 players still in. My hope was that the flop would chase 4 of them off.
200,000. Raise 100,000.
300,000 to you, sir.
Call.
There was now 2.1 million on the table.
300,000 to you, sir.
Plus 200.
2.6 million. $3 million. She was right. I was extending credit, big numbers. And it's not like Harlan Eustace hadn't already put the fear of God into me. If I couldn't pay one time, that'd be the end of the game. I was the house. That's how quickly I made the decision. And just as quickly, B calculated 2% of the pot and took it off the table. That was it. I just taken a rake in violation of U.S. Criminal Code 1955. It's time to introduce Douglas Downey, because Downey's gonna take us all the way home. Downey was a drunk, and he'd stay after the game and hang out while I did the books. He was hard to understand when he was drunk, and his conversation openers would always sound like the title of a detective novel.
Victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
Story of, story of my proverbial, life.
He'd talk about his marriage.
I married young. Oh. I married young and I married dull. If I'd been born in Greenwich instead of Flushing.
He talked about wanting a better life.
New Canaan, going to Right Country Day, Princeton. The life I'd have. The wife I'd have. I'd be a player. Victim of circumstance. All these are things I only say to you.
Good call. And he'd talk about another game he played in. It was the Brooklyn game. The Brighton Beach game where they played all night and all day. The game that was populated by Russians.
I'm the only Irish guy they'll let play. Mal, these are the nicest guys I've ever met.
Then one night, Douglas Downey lost 80,000 at my game and didn't have it.
Winston, can I have the room, please? Sure. I'll see you tomorrow.
You won 190,000 last week.
I owe Teddy Chin and Tootie and some sports bets. I'm a winner, trapped inside the body of
Stop.
a... Yeah.
The Brooklyn game. Is everything I've heard true?
What have you heard?
The Russians have deep pockets, bad at poker, give action, pay instantly, and wear coat and tie.
That's all true.
Bring me some of those players, and I'll give you a piece of the game until your 80K's paid down.
Loser is what I was gonna say. Winner trapped inside the body of a
I know.
loser.
Got it. Can you bring me some players?
I'm the only Irish guy they'll let play.
Do you understand the deal I'm offering you?
No, I'm saying this because you're Irish and they may not want to play in your game. I'm the only Irish guy they'll let play.
I'm not Irish.
You're not?
No.
Molly Bloom?
You're thinking of the James Joyce character.
I always thought you were Irish.
I'm not. Can you bring me some players?
Isn't there a famous book?
Okay, Douglas, focus up. Yes, there's a book by James Joyce called Ulysses, and there's a character named Molly Bloom, and that is why you think I'm Irish. But now it's time to move past that. Can you bring me some Brighton Beach players?
If you're not Irish, what are you?
I'm a Russian Jew. The next week, I had some new players. Mike was the first one to arrive.
I'm Jesse.
Mike owned a chain of medical clinics and had already posted with a wire transfer. Next were the Gershon brothers, Ilya and Alexei. They were in the business of exporting steel to China. Alexei brought $250,000 in cash in a backpack.
Mr. Page, good evening. I'm Shelby. I'm Shelly. Only one letter's different. Also, I'm a billionaire. I think I may have seen you naked.
No, you'd remember.
And then Shelley Habib. The Habib family owns the largest collection of classical art in the world, valued at $3 billion. And Shelley runs the Halley Gallery on Madison Avenue.
As for tonight, I was not able to put my hands on cash today because I woke up this morning after the banks had closed. So I'm hoping you'll accept this as temporary collateral.
That is an authentic Monet.
Grabbed it right off the wall.
You came over here carrying a Monet.
I was driven, and I have security outside the door.
Okay, Shelley, here's what I need you to do. I need you to get this, what, $7 million painting out of here right now. And your, I assume, armed security can't stand in front of the door. Fix this up, come on back, and I'll extend your credit tonight up to 1.5.
You're a very beautiful woman.
Please be careful with the painting.
Always.
Mike, Ilya, Alexei, and Shelley. Those were the players Doug Downey brought me. As advertised, they played loose, gave action, lost to the regulars, and settled right away. People have asked, wasn't there any way to tell that some of the players at your game are connected to one of the darkest, deadliest, and far-reaching organized crime syndicates in the world? No, there wasn't.
I'm gonna go on.
I wish I had better news.
Harrison Wellstone didn't go for the minor role reduction?
No.
He didn't buy that I was a cocktail waitress?
No.
Aw. Was it because I wasn't?
Hey, I tried, which is what you're not paying me to do.
So what now?
The government is expressing an interest in you being a cooperating witness.
You don't say.
Molly,
Who could have possibly seen that coming?
let's have the conversation.
It'll be short because I don't know anything at all that can help
You
them.
don't know anything that can help them convict the Russians, but you know things that can help them.
Did you know that 97% of federal cases never make it to trial? Even though the chances of being convicted at trial is a little more than 1 in 100.
If you want to go to trial, that's fine. But it's going to cost you in the area of $3.5 million.
Which the Justice Department knows I don't have because they took all of my money in a civil forfeiture, which they can do without a warrant because my property doesn't have a presumption of innocence. Then after I'm arrested by 17 agents holding automatic weapons, totally necessary, not at all meant to intimidate me, I'm given 2 days to hire a lawyer and appear in a courtroom on the other side of the country.
If you're saying that everything that happens from the moment you are arrested is designed to persuade you to plead guilty, you are correct.
So tell me all the ways I can help, because I really feel I owe it to them. Oh, speaking of owing, the IRS put a tax lien on the money they took from me.
You kidding? All right, none of that matters.
Taking my money wasn't a tax. I also need to give them my money, or they'll take it again.
None of that matters.
It needed to be said.
Not really. So, to be clear, you're not interested in entering a cooperation agreement with the prosecutors.
If I had testimony that would lead to the conviction of a bad guy, no one would have to coerce me into cooperating. But I don't. I have dirt. I've dish, I've gossip. So my value to the prosecution is exactly the same as it is to Hollywood. I'm here to ensure the New York Post covers the trial. I'm here to sell tickets.
Which is nonetheless value to the prosecution. So what we do is leverage it to get you a favorable sentencing recommendation, or better yet, complete immunity. What? Oh, hey, honey.
Hey, Stella. Hey. What does he have you doing now?
An essay on 3 poems with what he believes are a common theme.
Not an essay, 2 paragraphs.
Which 3 poems?
Close, Rush, and Walls.
Oh, I know those. What's the common theme?
Things with one-word titles.
Are you sure you're qualified to be teaching
Hang on.
poetry?
And yes.
Anytime you want to run away from home, you can come live with me.
And then you'll discover she doesn't have a home, and you'll come back to me. This is good. Great. Why don't you grab a snack, start your homework, and one of the conference rooms.
Okay. See ya.
There's no law that says you can't just hit him in the head.
There is a law that says that, and it's the first thing I taught her to read. Go.
My father used to give us extra work.
Can I ask you a question? You think I'm too hard on her?
I met a girl when I first moved to LA. She was 22. Someone arranged through a third party to spend the weekend with her in London. You know what she got?
For the weekend? $5,000.
A bag. A Chanel bag she wanted. Whatever you're doing with Stella, double it.
Where's your father in all this?
You mean physically? He's in Colorado.
Your parents still together?
No.
You and your father close?
No.
Was he tough on you?
You know how many girls at the Olympics have demanding fathers?
All of them?
That's right. I was tough on him.
What do you mean?
I was a brat.
Fathers don't care.
I'd start fights with him.
Why?
You were lying!
Why would I start fights with him?
I put you through grad school. I raised the kids. I got everything. No. No, you listen to me. All you do is cheat on me and lie to me and lie to the kids. You lie to your wife and you lie to your kids.
I don't know. For the record, the law in 1955 that I'm accused of breaking it defines gambling as betting on games of chance.
Yes.
Poker isn't a game of chance. Roulette's a game of chance. Poker's a game of skill.
Still, I mean,
I'll tell them everything they want to know about me. About me. That's it. Remember Bad Brad Marion? It turns out his $700 million hedge fund wasn't what you would call real. It was a Ponzi scheme. He'd been falsely reporting profits for years. He wasn't even registered with the SEC. With the money given to him by friends and family and players at the game, he bought several Malibu beach houses, an airplane hangar full of cars, another one with an airplane, and the life he wanted. When he was arrested, he had $740 in the bank. Brad cooperated with the FBI and gave them hours of testimony on a range of subjects, including how 3 years earlier he lost $5.2 million in an underground celebrity poker game that was run by a girl named Molly Bloom. His story was that I'd induced him to play in a high-stakes game.
Just wanted to introduce you to Brad.
And that due to my enabling, he'd become a gambling addict.
Made me become a gambling addict.
Brad, this game might not be for you. Federal bankruptcy lawyers were brought in to recover as much of the boosted money as they could. I was sent a subpoena and flew out to LA to be deposed.
Can you confirm the names on the list all played poker with Brad Marion?
This list was provided to you by Brad Marion?
I just need you to confirm for the record that your game included but was not limited to the players
I
on this
understand.
list.
What I'm trying to get on the record is that I'm not the one who provided the list.
These names were provided by Brad Marion. So, under oath...
Yes, I can confirm the list is accurate. The LA players and I were given a choice. Testify against each other in open court, or help make restitution to the victims of Brad's Ponzi scheme. I wrote the government a check for $500,000. And somewhere in an FBI field office in New York, someone was pinning my picture to a wall. I was running 6 games a week, sometimes at 2 different locations in a night. And by this point, I was addicted to drugs. Adderall, Ambien, Xanax, Coke, alcohol, Valium, Ativan, Trazodone, anything that could keep me up for a few days and knock me out for a few hours. But I wasn't just taking them to stay awake anymore. It was dark and friendless where I was. I felt like I was in a hole so deep I could go fracking. Didn't feel like depression. It felt more violent. I was tired of living in the frat house I'd built for degenerates. I was tired of the greed. Mine, not theirs. Everybody's. I was sick of being high all the time. I was sick of living in the gray area. I couldn't recognize myself, and what I recognized, I couldn't stand. After a game one night, Douglas Downey surprised me with a confession after opening with another detective story title.
Got shot on the river. I want to say something.
Okay.
I want to say, something.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it.
Cool.
Because there's a poem, famous, a poem about thoughts left unexpressed. Two roads emerged from the woods. Do they explode? I don't know. You like poetry?
I did until a second ago. I'm gonna call you.
I'm in love with you.
This isn't happening.
Plain and simple. You're the woman I've always dreamed of, and I've been dreaming.
Stop it. Listen to me, Douglas. I'm the woman all of you have always dreamed of. I'm the anti-wife. I encourage your gambling. I have drinks served to you by models who simultaneously create the impression that you're the kind of guy who can score a dime piece anytime you want. It's nice for you in here. Do you know who Cersei was? Cersei.
Used to play in Teddy Chin's game.
Nope. Cersei did not play in Teddy's game. She was the Greek goddess of magic, and she gave men feasts with wine and honey and then turned them into swine.
Why?
Fantastic question.
I would never do that to you.
Missed the point by miles, but that's okay.
Molly?
Shelby and Winston will close up. See you next week. Here you go. Thanks a lot, Randy.
Thanks, Mom. Good morning.
Morning, Pat. Pat was my driver in security.
Straight home?
Yeah, we didn't know much more about each other than we needed to know, but I liked him. We were friends. I used to be a competitive athlete. I didn't know if you knew that.
What sport?
Skiing. Freestyle.
Were you good?
I don't know.
Hey, Molly,
Pat asked me a favor.
can I ask you something?
He said there were a couple of hedge fund guys in New Jersey who wanted to play, and he could score points with them if he was able to get them a meeting with me. I said sure, and set the meeting for 5 p.m. on a Thursday at the Four Seasons bar, knowing that if they were legit, they'd recognize someone in the crowd at happy hour at the Four Seasons right after the closing bell. It turns out I didn't need to be that clever. These weren't finance guys. They were from the cast of Jersey Boys. They looked around the bar self-consciously. They were out of their element, and tough guys try to look tougher when they're insecure. I had a good hunch what they wanted, and I was gonna have to shut down this meeting quickly, but without being rude to Joey Bag of Donuts and Secaucus Sal. I'm Molly Bloom. Nice to meet you.
John G.
And you are?
Paul. How do we get a drink?
I don't remember what the other guy ordered, but I'll never forget what John G had. He looked at the waiter as if to say that he could handle himself just fine among the Manhattan elite and said,
I'll have an appletini. So, how was your week?
My week? It was fine. Thank you. Pat said you guys might be interested in a game.
We want to partner with you. We've talked to Tootie, Will,
Teddy Chin.
Teddy Chin. We did a little work with them, too. We can make your life easier. Nobody will fuck with you. Nobody will stiff you.
I appreciate the offer, but really, I'm fine. I don't carry a big debt sheet. I feel safe.
You lied just then. When you said you don't carry a big debt sheet. You got 2.8 million on the street right now, right as we're sitting here. We do our research. That money should be in your hands, because it's yours. It's yours. And if you don't have it, you gotta go into your pocket to pay the wins.
Fellas, I'm sorry. It's just a friendly game with higher stakes. It was really nice to meet you, though. Let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you. I like to do favors. They'll put your drinks on my card. There are some gaps in my memory, which they say is common when you've had what's called an event. For instance, I don't remember where I was coming from when I walked into my building. Just that my doorman, Reggie, said he had packages for
I think
me.
I got some things for you in the package room. I'll bring them on up.
Thanks. It was the first night of 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. And my plan was to take a bath and try not to take drugs. Reggie came up with my packages. Sorry, you're in the wrong... Wait, okay, hold on a second.
Not a sound. You get me?
I have money. It's all cash.
Where?
It's safe.
Where's it?
It's in the closet.
Show me. Put the money and jewelry in a bag. Gold bars, too.
Come on.
Open your mouth. Open your mouth. It wasn't an offer they made. It wasn't a suggestion. This will be your only reminder. Your mother lives alone in Telluride, Colorado. Right? Right? Right, Molly?
She doesn't live there anymore.
I see that.
I couldn't call a doctor or go to an ER. They'd take one look at me and call the police. My eyes were swollen and black. My lips were cut and bloody. I couldn't feel my face. Pat had set up the meeting, and he was how they knew where I lived. I stayed in my apartment for 2 weeks, waiting for my face to heal, and waiting for the phone call I knew was coming. But the call didn't come. Where was the call from John G? So maybe you've had a change of heart? After 10 days, I opened my front door for the first time. People were coming back into town after New Year's in Cabo and St. Bart's and South Beach. My phone was blowing up with when's the next game, but nothing from John G. And then right there on the front page of the New York Times from 8 days ago, nearly 125 arrested in sweeping mob roundup. Those guys were either laying low or they were in custody. Sometimes God happens fast. My face had healed enough so that a little makeup would cover the bruises that were left. I put together a week of games. 1 week of games to get the $2.8 million I was owed, and then I was out. I was done. 1 week of epic games. I had some of my London players in town, and the Russians had visiting friends from Moscow. Jesse and Shelby had already started the game at the plaza and were reporting heavy early action. I was on my way when the phone rang. It was Douglas Downey. I'm on my way, Doug.
Wait, Molly, wait. I'm hiding in the bathroom. I need you to believe me, okay?
Whose
I need you
bathroom?
to believe me because at the suite, at the plaza,
Why are you hiding in the bathroom?
I would never tell them anything about you. I said, guys, you want me to go further? You want me to go other places? I'll do it. But nothing about Molly. She can't be touched. Just the Russians.
Okay, you're drunk and a little difficult to understand, so I'll see you in a few minutes when I get there.
I was cited for securities fraud. It was scrubbed from my record. That's why you don't know.
Did you say securities fraud?
I would never help them build a case against you. I would never give them anything against you. I'd commit perjury before I did that. It was such bullshit. It was 2006.
If you'd had an arrest, I'd have known.
It was bullshit.
Doug.
I told them I'll go further. I'll go other places, but not you. I love you. I love
Doug,
you.
listen, I need you to pull it together for a second. Did they scrub your record because you've been informing?
Should I have told you? That's a question that'll haunt me for all my
Why are you
days.
hiding in the bathroom?
For my days, Molly. Always know that I was trying to protect you. You're someone...
5 blocks away, the FBI had raided my game. I fully expected the lobby to be filled with guys wearing windbreakers, but it wasn't.
Miss Bloom, haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah.
You need a cab?
I guess you never made it upstairs with the packages. Maybe I didn't tip you enough before Christmas.
And you got into a cab, took the cab to JFK, and flew to your mother's house in Denver.
Telluride. My mother lives in Telluride. That was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
In the cab on the way to the airport, I checked my bank account balance. There should have been a little over $4 million, but instead, it said the balance was zero, and there was a note telling me to contact the Justice Department.
I just want to mention that she also voluntarily checked herself into 28-day rehab and has been sober and clean for 2 years.
I don't care. Were the women that work for you call girls?
No, sir.
They never exchanged sex for money?
No.
Have you ever exchanged sex for money?
No,
I think he was talking to me.
I meant no. She's not answering that question. The purpose of this meeting
I know.
The purpose of this meeting...
We're off the record.
We're not off the record.
Do you see a stenographer in here?
We're off the record in as much as there is no record, but you're free to use the information you're given, and we're not giving the information for free. I've been sitting at this table for 5 hours, waiting for the opportunity to employ you to do the right thing, while begging my client for the last 3 weeks to act in her own best interest. Neither of those things should be hard. The purpose of this meeting is for you to meet Molly Bloom and discover, as I have, that she is not the person the press has invented.
She's not under federal indictment for getting bad press, Charlie, and the purpose of the meeting for me is to discover if your client is willing to cooperate with the government in putting away some bad people.
No.
You're not willing to cooperate?
No, I never traded sex for money. I'm still not sure if there's a record, but if there is, I wanted to be certain that was in it.
It appears to me throughout your career as a game runner, you're extremely diligent about vetting players.
I was.
But you let 4 guys play in the game without knowing they were connected?
Yeah, plus an FBI informant. It's embarrassing. I was high at the end and doing my job badly. I'll also add that in my limited experience with the Russian mob, they don't immediately present themselves as mobsters. My experience with the Italian mob, on the other hand, I I don't know anything that can help you.
Yes.
And if I did,
Yes, you do. You can provide color, you can paint a picture, you can tell us Straczynski wore a $100,000 Paytech Philippe and drove a Phantom. You can tell us Ilya Gershon showed up with $250,000 cash in a backpack, and you can tell us how much action Shelley was taking on a sports bet.
No one was allowed to play sports bets inside the room. They would have to go outside. So I had no idea how much anyone was taking or
So now
laying.
you're saying you knew they were making and taking sports bets?
No, that's the point of them going outside. They could have been calling their mother for all I knew.
Molly,
Yes, sir.
I don't believe you. In Mike Davidoff's phone intercepts alone, just Davidoff, your name comes up 19 times. We need Molly. Get Molly. Bring Molly. It strongly suggests you're important to his business, so it's hard for me to believe that someone with your savvy and obvious
I'm
intellect...
talking about the drug. Get Molly, bring Molly. We need Molly. They're talking about the drug, ecstasy.
Shit, my office is next to yours for 2 years, and I've seen you make some boneheaded moves, but I've never seen any prosecutor step in it the way you just did. You should thank all of the gods that there is no physical evidence of that exchange. No, you look.
No, what are you going to implore me to do the right thing?
This woman does not belong in a RICO indictment. Are you out of your minds? She does not belong in a mob indictment. She raped a game, that's it, for 7 months, 2 years ago. And why? Because she was giving credit in the millions, and she didn't want to use muscle to collect. She has had opportunity after opportunity to greatly benefit herself by just telling the real stories that she knows. Okay, I have the forensic imaging going back to 2007. And I'm talking about text messages, emails, movie stars, rock stars, athletes, billionaires, all explicit. Some married with kids, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. What about the guy that comes this close to being the U.S. ambassador in Monaco? He's withdrawn from consideration at the last minute. No one knows why. She does. CEOs with college-age mistresses, an SVP of an investment bank who wanted Molly to put a marked deck in a game, the head of a movie studio that texted that a particular movie star was too black for his liking. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover didn't have this much shit on Barbie. You know, she could have written a bestseller and been set for life. Easy. She's got the winning lottery ticket, and she won't cash it. Your office took every dollar she has in a constitutionally fucked up seizure and then put the IRS on her to tax what you seized? I mean, I've been in those strategy meetings. You broke her back so she couldn't possibly afford to defend herself, and now she has an opportunity to guarantee her freedom by providing color, and she still won't do it. This woman does not belong in a RICO indictment. She belongs on a box of Wheaties. So yes, Harrison, I am imploring you to do the right thing. She knows nothing about the three-piece, nothing about Ragnayada, nothing about RGO or insurance fraud. Between the two of us, we've appeared in front of this judge 28 times as prosecutors, and not once has he deviated from our sentencing recommendation. He's not going to start now. I know you've been putting this bust together for 3 years, and there's no one who doesn't want to see mobsters go to jail, including and especially the one person in the room who's had one of them put a gun in her mouth. Probation, community service, or better yet, just consider that all she did is run a poker game exactly the same way every casino in America does and drop the goddamn charges.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No. There's nothing else you'd like to add.
I'd like to talk to Charlie in private if that'd be okay with you.
Yeah. Why don't you just grab some dinner for an hour and meet me back at the office?
Huh? I'm sorry?
Did you want a hot dog?
I'll have a pretzel, please. I would like to rent a pair of skates, size 7, but I don't have any money. These are $800 leather Chanel gloves. I'll trade you.
$800 gloves.
And they keep your hands just as warm as a $10 kind.
Miss, are you alright?
I'm fine. I'm divesting.
Hey, slow down! Hey, miss, slow down!
Catch me! Come on, catch me!
Hey, slow down!
Bend your knee.
Dad?
You all right?
Sorry about that.
I got you.
Sorry.
Taking you off the ice right now.
How's it going?
What are you doing in New York? How'd you know I was at the skating rink?
I'm a doctor of the mind.
Dad.
I'm here in New York because that's where you are. I called your mom at the hotel and she said you were here. Listen, it's not a big deal, but from what I saw out there, I think you're having a small breakdown.
That's weird. Can't think of why.
Probably because of the arrest and not knowing what's going to happen next.
Old man, do you really not recognize sarcasm?
Do you? Yeah, drink this.
I'm an alcoholic. I can't drink, but thanks
It's
for
hot
remembering.
chocolate. And for diagnostic purposes, do you think that we're in a cocktail lounge right now? You seeing waiters with trays of champagne? I want to check your pulse.
Have you found a pulse?
Yeah, just admiring my watch.
I can see you're getting warmed up, but I really don't have the emotional bandwidth to defend my, as usual, irresponsible behavior.
I know, I got your email. I get that I'm not welcome in your life right now as your father, though you should know I could give a shit if I'm welcome or not. But I'm not here in my capacity as your father. I'm indifferent to whether your father lives or dies. I'm a very expensive therapist, and I'm here to give you one free session.
You think what I need right now is a therapist?
Yeah.
I'd be back in my lawyer's office soon.
Do you like your lawyer?
I wasn't asking for money when I called you, Dad. I just needed my dad. God forbid you part with a nickel.
Yeah, Tiny Tim, you grew up on a lake and you've skied all over the world. Were those workhouses tough?
I gotta go.
Molly.
I gotta go.
Molly, sit the fuck down. All right, we're gonna do 3 years of therapy in 3 minutes.
How?
I'm gonna do what patients have been begging therapists to do for 100 years. I'm just gonna give you the answers.
To what?
Well, let's start with this. Why does a young woman who, at 22, has a gold-plated resume, why does she run poker games?
Why did I choose to make a ton of money? That's a head scratcher.
You were gonna be a success at anything you wanted. You know it. You'd gone to law school, you'd have owned a law firm right now. Why did you do the other thing instead?
I don't know. Drugs.
You didn't start with the drugs until the end. They weren't the problem. They were the medicine. It was so you could control powerful men. Your addiction was having power over powerful men.
Is that what you really think?
No, I know it for sure. You've now completed your first year of therapy.
I saw an opportunity. It wasn't about you.
No, it wasn't just about me.
It wasn't at all about you.
It was. Second year. Second question.
Do you think you were a good husband?
What do you care?
I care because you were married to my mother. I care because my father's an asshole.
Congratulations. You completed year 2. And for the record, your father raised 3 kids on a college professor's salary. One of them is a 2-time Olympian, a 6th-round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles, and a leading philanthropist. The other is a cardiothoracic surgeon at Mass General, and the third managed to build a multi-million-dollar business using not much more than her wits.
I'm about to plead guilty in federal court.
Well, nobody's perfect. The point is, I did a few things right. Last question.
No, I have to go.
Last question, Laurel. I'll answer it, but you have to ask it. You have to ask it.
Why didn't you like me as much as my brothers?
There it is. I did. It only from time to time appeared that I didn't.
It only appeared that you didn't.
Yeah.
That is some Schedule 1 bullshit. Why would it only appear? Would? Oh, okay, I had an attitude problem. I talked back. I broke some normal adolescent rules. I snuck phone time after curfew. I took your car when I wasn't allowed
Drove
to.
it into a McDonald's.
And kids get punished for that, but
Did
they
you
don't.
not say the McDonald's? I mean, did you misunderstand what drive-through meant?
You turn into a different person. Your voice, your face.
I
didn't hear what you said.
I said, I knew you knew.
You knew I knew what?
What do you think about the following concepts? Just gonna run them by you. Marriage.
It is a trap.
That I was cheating on Mom. I knew you knew. Society.
It is a joke.
No, I didn't know until I was 20.
People.
I don't trust people.
No, you'd known since you were 5. You saw me in my car and you really didn't know what you saw.
I don't have any heroes.
You knew, honey. And I knew you knew, and that's how I reacted to the shame. And you reacted by showing seething contempt for me. Driving my car into McDonald's.
Wanting to have power over powerful men?
No. That was a red herring just to make you mad. You tripped over a stick. Okay? 12 years ago, you tripped over a stick. It was a 1 in a million thing. You tripped over a stick. That's what you did wrong. There's your session. It's funny how much faster you can go when you're not charging by the hour. I'm your father. Trying to comprehend how much I love you would be like trying to visualize the size of the universe. I didn't know you got beaten up until I read it in your book. It was a hell of a way to learn about it. You should know that I'm hiring someone to find the guy who did it, then I'm hiring someone to kill him.
Don't even joke about that.
I'm not.
It wasn't a person, it's your dad, it was the
I
mafia.
don't care if it's the leader of Hamas. Someone put their hands on you, they're gonna suffer.
Dad, I'm fine.
No, they're gonna suffer.
Dad, I'm all right.
No, they're gonna suffer.
Really, I'm fine.
Did you know that...
Oh, I didn't see you.
Did you know that we know what the center of our galaxy smells like? It smells like ramen raspberries. The center of the galaxy is ethyl formate, which is the same gas that gives rum its smell and raspberries their taste.
How do you know these things?
To stay busy during games, I surfed the internet. And I started taking online courses. I'm 12 credits away from a degree in astronomy. I didn't even know I was enrolled. Hey, I want to thank you for what you said tonight.
Stella. Who asked me to be a lawyer? She read the book. I accused her of reading trash, but she defended the book impressively. And then defended you. You're her role model. I'm good with that. There's a new offer on the table.
What is it?
We hand over the hard drives.
I don't get it.
We hand over the forensic imaging of the emails and texts in exchange for...
Exchange for... What could they possibly offer me to do that?
I wrote it all down. It's, your money back. I'll give you all your money back, plus interest. It's over $5 million.
Is that why they took it in the first place? So they could offer it back to me?
Yeah. For what it's worth, if we went to trial, you would have to hand over the forensic imaging and discovery. So...
But that's different than voluntarily handing it over.
Sure, but it's not really voluntary anymore when the alternative is prison. And that's what they're gonna recommend, 42 months.
Why do you keep breaking eye contact with me?
I'm looking right at you.
You think I should do it?
You gotta let me keep you out of prison.
You've seen what's on those hard
Yeah.
drives.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than a little color.
Yeah, but complete immunity. All right, you get all your money back. You'll be the first defendant to walk out of a courtroom better off than when you walked in.
Careers will be ruined. Families, wives, lives
Hey,
on
you know,
both coasts.
when a rich guy goes to jail, he spreads his money around. His lawyer knows how to take care of that. He spreads his money around. You don't have any. The composition of female inmates in federal prison, they did not commit financial crimes. They're drug dealers. They get raped by prison guards. You will not be anonymous, Molly. You will be a target.
Children will read their father's text messages saying he wished he'd never had kids. These guys,
where are they? Why are you in this alone? Where are your friends? Where is the one guy saying, hey, you know, Molly, I know you're doing everything to save my life. What can I do for you? Let me buy you a sandwich. Where are they, Molly? You kept their secrets. Where are the people you're protecting by not telling the whole story in the book? By settling the Brad Marion suit, by not taking $5 million of your own money, by going to jail. Where did everybody go?
It's not their names. I'm protecting Charlie. It's mine.
Oh, that's great. Well, we don't have the luxury of integrity. You have to take the deal.
No.
You stay out of jail. You get your money back. You pay your debts. You start a new life. Is this self-imposed punishment for naming 4 guys in a book?
It's not.
You didn't do anything wrong.
I threw 4 people under the bus for $35,000, Charlie. I noticed you kept that out of your speech to the prosecutor.
No, don't do that
I took
to me.
advantage of gambling addicts. Donnie Silverman, my brilliant find. He lost
Molly,
$6 million
stop.
on my table.
Stop.
Moved to Florida, got a job as a substitute teacher, then hanged himself.
Oh, and
in
that's
his shower.
your fault. That's
Donnie
not your
Silverman's
fault.
dead. Harlan Eustace is in jail in Nevada, wishing he was, but that's not why I'm saying no.
You're not saying no.
I was named after my great-grandmother.
I don't care.
Molly.
We will
Dublin
stay
Bloom
here all night
is my
until you
name.
understand. Until you understand nobody gives a shit about your good name.
I do.
Why?
Because.
Why?
Because.
Tell me why.
Because it's all I have left. Because it's my name. And I'll never have another.
Now you read The Crucible?
Yeah, everyone's right. It's great.
It is great.
I want to go into that courtroom plead guilty. No deals. No trades.
And you're very sure?
Yes.
All right.
The business of the court began. We stood for the Honorable Judge Dustin Foxman, and counsel entered their names for the record.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Harrison Wellstone for the Southern District
The
of New
docket
York.
was called,
Docket number 10095.
and some pro forma instructions were given to counsel. And I was asked a series of questions from a script the judge had in front of him. Molly Dubin Bloom.
How old are you? Have you taken any drugs, medicine, or pills, or had any alcoholic beverages in the past 48 hours?
Sudafed.
Is there anything about the reasons for you taking Sudafed that would interfere with what's going on?
87 questions he was required to ask before he'd permit me to plead guilty.
Is your mind clear today, Ms. Bloom?
It is.
Do you understand what's going on here today?
I do.
Under the Constitution and laws of the United States, you have a right to plead to the charges in the indictment. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
At that trial, you would be presumed to be innocent and would not have to prove that you were innocent. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
If you plead guilty, and I accept your plea, you will give up your right to appeal along with all other rights I've enumerated. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you are charged in count 20 with operating an illegal gambling business in violation of Title 18, United States Code Sections 1955 and 2?
Yes, I understand.
Understanding everything you've been told, do you now wish to enter a plea?
Yes, sir.
How do you plead to the charge?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Your plea has been so recorded, and you may take your seat. Before we move to the sentencing phase, I would like a word with counsel, please.
And then something happened.
Pardon me, Mr. Jaffe, just government counsel.
Yes, sir.
What's going on? What are they doing?
Wait for it.
Would the defendant please rise for sentencing? Based on all available information, this court manifestly disagrees with the government's sentencing recommendation. This courthouse is located within spitting distance of Wall Street. I know this from my personal experience trying to spit at it. The men and women who work there will commit more serious crimes by lunchtime today than the defendant has committed in this indictment. I simply don't see how either the people or the cause of justice are served by locking Molly Bloom in prison.
It was as casual as if he was ordering lunch off a menu.
Ms. Bloom, this court sentences you to 200 hours of community service, 1 year of supervised probation, drug testing, and a $200,000 fine. This case is adjourned.
And that was that. There was crying and hugging, jokes from my brothers, tough talk about how no one messes with the Blooms, and level-headed talk about Christmas miracles. Steaks and beer bought by my father, and full reenactments. And in the middle of it all, as grateful as you are, the reality starts creeping toward you like the tide. And that's the first time you have the thought, what do I do now?
We're gonna race her down. We need to toboggan her to the backboard.
I'm a felon. I'm 35 years old, unemployed, and pled guilty in a mob indictment.
People, make way! People, control here, move away, move away.
I owe the government close to $2 million in taxes assessed on the civil forfeiture, plus a $200,000 fine. And you better believe they're gonna come get it.
Is there a path?
I have $250,000 in legal bills. I don't know what I'd say in a job interview, or if I'll ever be given a job interview. I'll never be allowed to vote again.
Gonna need a set of vitals.
And for some reason, I'm not allowed to go to Canada.
Molly, strip. Hips are stable. Pelvis is stable.
Yep. Her dad's here.
What's her LOA?
She's coming around now.
Open your eyes if you can hear us.
Okay, she's conscious.
Molly, what day is
You need to
it?
stay down, okay? You need to go to a hospital.
What day?
Dad, I'm fine.
Caution not to move, Molly.
Look on my arm.
Trying to get up, hon?
Yeah.
Who wants to get up?
Our cameras can't get in there, so we don't know.
I wonder if Tracy's got an update for us on the ground.
She's moving, guys.
She's moving.
She's moving.
You sure you're good?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
We can see that she's being helped to her feet now. Molly Bloom is, of course, the sister of Jeremy Bloom, who holds the world's #1 ranking. That's her longtime coach there, Ted Keene, and her father.
She came back from an injury when she was just 13. You know, you have to wonder about the psychological toll. Coming that close, only to lose it like that.
Did anything good come of this? Not really. But I learned something encouraging. I'm very hard to kill.
You and I both know people who have never gotten over it.
I don't know if the young woman we've just seen is one of those people. We may not see her ski competitively again, but I think we're going to see her.
Winston Churchill defined success as the ability to move from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. So, I guess I'm pot committed.
She'll be back.
All right, up next at the gate is Whitney Summerhill, who's currently in 12th place after